partir du 1er août 2020, BT Media sera encore plus mieux. Nous irons plus loin avec des images plus claires. Nos chaînes My Media Prime, My Movie Africa, French and English, My Music Africa, My Gospel Africa, We Black 1 and 2 seront améliorées sur MOS 17, fréquence 12333, symbol rate 32 000, polarité verticale 17 degrés Est. Nous satisfaisons toujours nos consommateurs qui regardent toujours nos chaînes. Pour vos informations, divertissement et éducation. BT Media Group, building the future.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime. We are going to be discussing this time around on the manifestations that took place across Cameroon yesterday and today by women protesting the killings of the children in Kumba. We also are going to be looking at the false alarm raised by whosoever yesterday that took parents in parents in Buea, in Mutengene and Limbe by storm, who rushed to schools asking for their children to follow them home. We also are going to be looking at the visit by the Ministers of Territorial Administration, Minister of Secondary and Basic Education to Kumba yesterday, with our panelists who are already seated. Apostle Ambe Valentine Gua is in the house with us. We are glad to have you this evening, Apostle.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians, and good evening, my co-panelists. It's always a privilege and opportunity to be here to discuss hard-burning issues that concerns our nation, Cameroon. Thank you once more again.
Yeah, to note that the nation is still mourning, to tell our televiewers that Saturday has been decreed as a day of national mourning by the President of the Republic.
Yes, it's a gesture that must be appreciated. Even though we condemn so many things, I think when something good is done, we should appreciate. We acknowledge the fact that the head of state has recognized the blood of those children spilled in Kumba and has declared Saturday, 31st of the month of October, a dark Saturday, and the flag will be hoisted at half-mast. And with all this, we're calling Cameroonians to remove our caps and wherever we are to maintain a moment of silence to pay tribute to the fallen heroes, because those are heroes that were supposed to be people like presidents in this country tomorrow. So we are mourning, and we are still in the mood of mourning, even though we are on air to address this issue. Thank you, Mr. Liu.
Okay, also with us is Professor Mark Anthony, who says he must be present today to talk on these burning issues touching on our national life. We are glad to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, and I want to begin by appreciating the President for the good gesture of actually choosing to declare Saturday morning Saturday. That is something that I believe that he took a good decision to permit Cameroonians to get to mourn those kids who lost their life last Saturday. And I think that with most of us who are parents, we are still mourning, and I believe that talking about it is still creating a lot of emotions and sentiments out there. So we are going to do our best to just educate.
Tamfu Jones is the Secretary General of our Modegna Party. We're glad to have you with us this evening.
It's always a pleasure, Mr. Liu. I say good evening to Cameroonians and fellow panelists. It's on a sad note that we are gathered here today, still mourning, as Professor Mark Anthony rightfully said. It's rather unfortunate that Mr. Buea did a good thing, but on the wrong day. Because I don't, Mr.
Apostle Ambi
said earlier that on Saturday, where flags will be hoisted halfway. And I begin to imagine how many flags are always hoisted in Cameroon on Saturdays. Given that a public holiday is declared on another public holiday, that notwithstanding its morning, and it's morning, and we appreciate the head of state for that. At least let's appreciate effort, because we cannot say the head of state have done nothing. At least they have done what he has done, but I was expecting it to be maybe within a week to have much more impact. So that notwithstanding, I will say thank you to the head of state for at least acknowledging, but we still expect much from him. We're hoping that he should also move to the southwest to Kumba to pay tribute to those children, because in other countries we have seen when things like this do happen, the head of state himself goes there, because when you look critically, you realize that if this problem in Cameroon has reached where it has reached today, it's because of the absence of the head of state around the nation. Because if he had gone to Bamenda at the beginning of this crisis, I don't think we would be here today.
Okay, Kedia Malangfe is in the studio with us, representing the CPDM. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you. Greetings to my co-panelists, and greetings to all Cameroonians watching us at this moment. It so happened that we lost kids, innocent children that don't even know their left or their right, but as it did happen, it's a sad situation. And the head of state, the father of the nation, has made it that all Cameroonians all over the world on Saturday will mourn this kid. It is something that all of us, we should give our condolence, support the family, pray with the family, and ask God to accept the soul of these innocent children. And as the process of investigation is still going on, for justice to be implemented and put in place, so that at least it will be clear that there was justice. It's not time for us to start asking questions that the day is a Saturday, the day is a Sunday, the day is a Friday. All is that there is a day that have been kept aside for all Cameroonians to sympathize with the family and to express the fact that we've lost Cameroonians and young children. So I would like to thank the head of state for doing that. We know cases that have been happening, and Cameroonians have been saying that we need a day for this. I will not want to be counting those occasions that happen. But if today the head of state has come out to say we need to mourn for our children, then it is time for us, for all of us, to actually mourn for those women that decided they are mothers. They know what it means to get pregnant, carry a child for 9 months and give birth, and they came out to also express their own heartfelt condolences, and they were protected by the forces of law and order, and everything went on peacefully.
Okay,
so
also,
it's a pleasure.
Okay, also with us is Alexa Ngepi, representing the CRM movement of Professor Maurice Kamto. Bonsoir et bienvenue.
Bonsoir, bonsoir aux millions de personnes qui nous suivent en ce jour supplémentaire.
Comment ça va?
Ça va, et d'ailleurs, je tiens à adresser mon nom au nom du MRC, nos sincères condoléances à toutes les victimes, à toutes les familles durement éprouvées et à tous ceux qui ont déjà perdu un proche du côté du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest du Cameroun. Et également aussi à féliciter l'initiative prise par le président de la République pour le deuil national qui aura lieu, qu'il a organisé samedi. C'est une très bonne chose. Il faut d'ailleurs rappeler que c'est l'une des premières fois, l'une des rares fois, parce que lorsqu'il y a eu Ezeka, lorsqu'il y a eu d'autres tragédies comme Ezeka et dernièrement Grabou, il n'y avait pas eu de deuil national alors qu'on avait réclamé des deuil national. Donc s'il a commencé par comprendre déjà, vouloir résoudre les problèmes dont le peuple a besoin, c'est une bonne chose de cela. Et aussi, même si nous devons déplorer que son tweet a été 48 heures plus tard, mais mieux vaut tard que jamais, il a quand même décidé que samedi soit un deuil national. Donc nous allons être là samedi pour ce deuil national-là. Nous allons pleurer avec tous les Camerounais. Bien évidemment que demain aussi, nous, MRC, on a demandé aussi aux militants et au peuple camerounais de s'habiller en noir de manière symbolique aussi pour vivre ce deuil-là.
Okay, I will start with you, Apostle Ambe. We saw these women in Bamenda. Can we have videos of what took place in Bamenda yesterday and possibly Yaounde? Okay, they're not really your first appreciation with what happened in Bamenda and Yaounde yesterday, Apostle Ambe.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's often said that a man that has running stomach, everywhere is toilet. Anyone that has running stomach, everywhere is toilet. From the analysis we've gotten as far as the crisis is concerned, I've come today particularly to tell Cameroonians and every good-willing Cameroonian to understand that the measures we've been talking about for the past 4 years have not been respected, and I do not think they'll be respected. This begins with the fact that they said they should go back and trace the root of the matter, and the government is not willing, because the government is not willing to go back to trace the root cause of the challenge. Secondly, we thought that international bodies were to come and help us, but they have proven beyond reasonable doubt that they are not interested in this case. Our neighboring country, Nigeria, had a recent challenge. The director of the ICC spoke. Hillary Clinton spoke, and all authorities on AU and other departments spoke. But Cameroon has had a crisis of 4 years of not heard those voices. That shows that Cameroon's case is insignificant. Thirdly, we were thinking that on the other side of the Amber fighters, they were supposed to come to a consensus and then make a decision. On their own part, they have not. And then we've taken analysis to realize that 3 parties are involved. There's a common man, there is Amber, and there is the government. The government is losing nothing. Ambers are losing nothing. The shock falls upon the common man. As a matter of fact, the destiny of this crisis now is upon the shoulders of the common man. And exactly what the women took up as responsibility yesterday is exactly what we are calling all Cameroonians at this hour in their respective areas. We need at least 200,000 women within the 10 regions of this country to shut down this nation. As a matter of fact, people have to come to a position whereby they cannot take nonsense anymore. The children who died, they are neither armed, they are neither military, which means 2 elephants are fighting and the grasses are suffering. It's a time for these women, wailing women, I call them wailing women, to rise up within the regions of this country and take their destiny into their hands. And I'm going to give you analysis of other crises in other countries, so you will know that you don't depend on all these bodies you have been calling. The government claims to have called a dialogue that was insisted, and they have concluded on the dialogue, and they are waiting on the spiritual status. That's where they have concluded. You are waiting on you, and they will never come. In 1994, during the Rwanda genocide, all other suggestions were there. Get to the root cause. Call United Nations. Call AU. They did all those things for years. People died, and almost 1 million persons died. And at the end of the day, it was Paul Kagame that took up the responsibility to fight that nonsense. That's why I say a man who has rotten stomach, everywhere is toilet. If the common man will have to excrete on the head of the Amber or excrete on the head of the military as toilet to stop this running stomach, it is time for responsibility to be given to the common man to fight their destiny. Is he that puts on the shoe knows what the shoe is pinching. Children were killed because they chose to go to school. When did education become a crime? When did going to school become a crime? When did pen and paper become a bullet to face the opposite camp? I think the time for Cameroonians to understand that the destiny of this particular crisis is in the hand of the common man. Let all those who are faithful Cameroonians willing to see this crisis come to an end shut down this nation. If they shut down this nation, the government and the AMBA will come to a consensus. That's my take.
Okay, your first appreciation of what happened across the nation yesterday and today in Buea.
It is just my position that most of the times I say we are the ones who went to elect our president, and implying that the sovereign power belongs to the people and not to the elected. We only give them a part of what we carry in us as our sovereign authority. And when it comes to a place when we think that this particular sovereign authority is being misused, or might be it is not working for our good, then it becomes the responsibility of the citizens to go to the streets in respect of the social contract that was entered during that election. Go to the streets and ask back for that authority. And I believe that those women just did that, which is something that is supposed to be appreciated. And I think, and I want to say it again, more Cameroonians need to take this as a part, because we are in a season where nobody seems to be listening to anybody. When you want to turn, if you speak against this scam, they fall on your head. You speak against this scam, they fall on your head, implying that fear is now the mechanism which is being used for rulership. And if we see that, what can stop it is when these women, I believe that most women who go out on the streets, they are not having guns like the ones we saw in Bamenda, like the ones we saw in Yaounde and here in Douala. They never went out with any guns, and they never went out for any instability. They simply went out to express their anger. And I'm saying that that is the only part we need to step out and pour out that anger, so that our nation, our leaders can get to understand that this thing is already taking a lot of lives, and those Amber boys can also understand that they have crossed the carpet and they have crossed the red line. It is time for Cameroonians to take their responsibility in their hands, go back on the social contract and demand for your authority, because you are the one who gave it out there. We are the ones who are suffering. A lot of young people have died. A lot of kids have died. I was analyzing the situation yesterday, and I remember baby Martha, how she was shot without even mentioning a word, without ever knowing what was going wrong, a bullet on her head. I remember the young kids in Gabu that were shot. They never mentioned a word. They never had any intention to do anything against anybody. They were killed. The ones, these young children that were in school, that is a worse situation. They were in school with a pen and a paper to learn. And what happened? They received bullets. How come that schools could be invaded? Because in relation to my understanding, schools are those environments which soldiers, whatsoever they might be called, should not enter into. And if they access that particular school ground, it means that they have declared war to the common man, and it is time for the common man to fight that war. Fighting that war not with arms, but just going out to use our voice and say enough is enough. We need to stop this rubbish. Cameroonians can't keep dying and nothing is done. We want to appreciate the fact that the president declared a mourning Saturday, but I want to say that it's not enough, because we always act like Oliver Twist, where we want to ask for more. That is not enough. There is need for this particular situation to be solved, and if it cannot be done, then what the women did is the only path ahead.
Okay, it's the only part ahead. Robert Malanfe, women took to the streets in Bamenda. Can we have a listen to what took place in the streets of Bamenda yesterday and Yaounde, if possible? Okay, seemingly we have more issues to fix there. Robert Malamfe, your position of the outpouring of anger from the women on the streets of Yaounde yesterday, the streets of Bamenda and Buea today?
Women are givers of life, and the pain obviously will touch them more. That we can't debate about it. And these women came out and it's right to demonstrate and express your dissatisfaction with the way things are going. And they came out, they were protected and guided, and everything went on smoothly as they describe or express their problem. But what's so sad about it is that when the case of Ngambu happened, many people came out to say it's the military, they said everything. But now it is a case where Amber fighters, which we all know, maybe some people don't want to say it openly because maybe they are scared that the other camp will attack them or whatsoever. But we see Amber fighters, after taking their India hemp, they decided to look at schools where children are. I was so happy when Prof was listing places that they don't attack: hospitals, the church, and schools. And we had children of 12 years, 13 years, that they had to go and use machete on them, cut off their head. It's so sad. That is violation of the pit of the violation of the fundamental human rights, seizing away life from a child. So when you see women, they come out, they carry these children for 9 months, they know what it means to put to bed, to nurse a child, to grow up, go to primary school, and at that level, the head of the child is being chopped off by some hoodlums after smoking their India hemp. It's so sad. But women are women, and they have come out to express their dissatisfaction. But when we are crying to say that let the government do this, we should be able to denounce issue and call a spade a spade. As we are saying that let the government do everything possible, we should be able to say that this barbaric act was being committed by Amber fighters, and to ask them to stop it, to respect the old people, the aged people, to respect the sick people, to respect children, adolescent children of underage. With whatsoever they are doing, they should be able to respect this category of people. And they should also know that when they talk about fundamental human rights, most people focus about the political aspect of it, but most of them don't know that when we talk about the social aspect of human rights, we have education. Education is a fundamental aspect of human rights. When we talk about fundamental, we are talking about these rights that are inalienable, this right that cannot be taken off. So no matter what has happened, no matter the state of a country, no matter the state of conflict, children have that right to go to school, and it should not be taken away from them. So these guys, I would like to beg all Cameroonians, especially those of the Northwest and Southwest, and all these women as they have come out in their number, to be able to identify these hoodlums that have decided to carry on this barbaric act to those that cannot defend themselves. They should be able to identify them to the forces of law and order, and to collaborate with the forces of law and order so that they can bring peace. And at the same time, we should also ask for the government to do a lot to protect us. So since when we are asking from the government, we should be able to condemn what these rascals are also doing.
Okay, Tamfu Jones, your reaction to the outing of the mothers, and how important is this move, and why was it limited only to the mothers? Why did the fathers not join?
A philosopher, Hugo, said, Victor Hugo, said, when you open the door of a school, a prison door closes. Meaning that education is very, very important, and it is the fundamental right to a child. So preventing children from going to school is not a good thing. Because now, when we talk about prevention of children going to school, because this is an indirect way of preventing children from going to school, whosoever that committed that act, I will say to the parents that they should accept my condolence. Whosoever that committed that act.
Amber did it. You should not say whosoever.
Mr. Kedia, I think that it will be wrong if we conclude before investigations are carried out. because from my understanding, investigations are ongoing. Because I remember there was once a time that we concluded in this manner and at Bangabu, and at the end of the day, after investigations, we had a different story. So we should wait for the result of the investigation before we can conclude. Now, what was I saying? I was saying that education is very important, and children have been killed in cold blood in school where they went to learn and nothing else. So at this point in time, mothers have seen that since from the beginning of this crisis, each time men and young men have tried to raise their voice on matters, on issues concerning this crisis, any of the camp, because when you talk about against the ambas, they clamp down on you. You talk against the military, they clamp down on you. Men have tried and it was not working. All they suffered was prison and kidnap. Now the women have decided that since our men don't have the chance to make their voices heard, we will take this thing into our hands and solve it our own way. That's why they're on the street. And I would like to make the viewers to understand so that these women who did not come on the street saying that the military they did this or the ambassadors did this, they came to the street demanding that this crisis, this problem should be solved so that the crisis can come to an end, so that things return back to normalcy. That's what we should know. So somebody should not carry it and say that the same ambassadors should stop the activities or the military should stop whatsoever activities. No, they want this war to come to an end. They want Mr. Buea to say this is the end of this war. Let's go to the table, maybe discuss the way forward, because no matter what, if we preach education as we are preaching here all the time, Mr. Leo, and tomorrow children go to school and the things subside and the government succeeds to kill all the ambas in the bushes and things come back to normalcy. Some 20 years, 10 years, 50 years after, some group of young men again or women will still arise and will still terrorize the nation. So for a long-lasting solution to this problem, I think that we need to sit down, the two parties, after all, need to sit down, discuss their differences, and look for a way forward.
Ok. Votre réaction quand vous avez vu les femmes défiler sur les rues de Bamenda, comme nous le voyons là, sur les écrans, et Yaounde hier.
Oui, il faut dire que ces femmes-là c'est la mère de la nation, hein, c'est la femme qui porte une nation, hein, c'est elle qui enfante, c'est elle qui porte les enfants pendant 9 mois, c'est elle qui traverse les périodes les plus difficiles, hein, ce sont les femmes. Et quand les femmes pleurent, c'est la nation qui pleure. Quand vous suivez les cris de ces dames-là, de ces femmes, de nos mamans, il faut dire qu'à nos mamans, quand elles pleurent, alors cela veut donc dire que le pays va mal, que les choses vont mal. Et d'ailleurs, c'est pourquoi est-ce qu'il ne faudrait pas qu'on commence à jeter le pot sur qui X ou Y. C'est-à-dire, il serait très facile d'accuser les ambassadeurs ou bien l'armée camerounaise. Parce que, et c'est ça que nous ne voulions pas au MRC. Donc, nous demandons au MRC que pour ce cas, qu'il y ait une enquête indépendante internationale impartiale. Parce que nous pensons que l'armée camerounaise ou bien le gouvernement camerounais n'est pas crédible pour mener à bien une enquête indépendante. On se rappelle qu'en Gabon, ils ont dit que c'était des ambassadeurs, alors il s'est avéré que c'était une bavure de l'armée. On se rappelle aussi certaines choses, certains crimes que les ambassadeurs ont commis, ils ont mis à ce dos de l'armée alors que c'était des ambassadeurs. Donc nous pensons sincèrement qu'il faut qu'il y ait une enquête internationale crédible pour résoudre cette crise-là. Et également, on doit aussi se rappeler aussi de ces crimes-là qui a eu lieu au nord-ouest, à l'extrême nord. Donc ce n'est pas la première fois que les enfants sont tués au Cameroun. À l'extrême nord, il y a cela en 2017-2018, on a quelques soldats égarés, c'est l'expression qui est adéquate, qui ont eu à abattre une dame et ses enfants sur le dos. Malheureusement, il n'y a pas eu deuil national, il n'y a pas eu cette mouvance-là. Nous osons croire que le peuple camerounais est en train de prendre conscience que ces crimes crapuleux qui se commettent au sud-ouest et au nord-ouest devraient s'arrêter. Et c'est pourquoi nous sommes en parfait accord avec l'action qui est lancée samedi. pour qu'il y ait pour que les apôtres soient mis en berne et pour deuil national. Et nous demandons aussi au Cameroun dès demain de s'habiller en noir. Mais cependant, au-delà d'identifier les responsabilités pénales, c'est-à-dire ceux qui ont commis l'acte, ceux qui ont tiré, il y a une responsabilité politique qu'il faut dégager. Parce que quand les gens meurent dans un pays de manière à cause de l'insécurité, c'est parce que la politique sécurité a échoué. Et nous sommes conscients, nous connaissons qui doit implémenter la politique sécuritaire. C'est le gouvernement qui est en place qui implémente la politique sécuritaire. La politique sécuritaire appartient à un parti politique. C'est le programme d'un parti politique, dont le RDPC. Si aujourd'hui ces enfants sont décidés, le RDPC n'est pas celui qui a appuyé sur la gâchette, mais le RDPC est celui qui a été défaillant avec la politique sécuritaire. Parce que depuis que cette crise du Nozo a commencé, on a demandé qu'il y ait une solution politique. Ils ont pensé qu'il fallait qu'il y ait une solution militaire. Ils ont militarisé le Nozo, ils ont commencé à envoyer les forces armées, acheter les armes. Ils ont parlé d'armes de 3e, 4e catégorie. Tout ce blabla-là entraîne à cela. Donc, il faudrait qu'on soit clair dessus. Il ne faudrait pas qu'on ait la langue de bois. C'est parce que le RDPC, et à son plus haut lieu, le chef de l'État, M. Biapol, a échoué dans sa politique sécuritaire. Il a encore plus échoué quand, depuis que ce gramme est sorti, samedi à 11h30, on se sera attendu. Un tweet, c'est 5 minutes. On se serait attendu que M. Biapol fasse un tweet même à 12 heures. Non, il a nargué le peuple camerounais. Il a attendu 48 heures, 72 heures pour passer un tweet, pour donner agresser ses condoléances au peuple camerounais, pour agresser ses condoléances à ses familles durement éprouvées. C'est des choses inacceptables. Et il a fallu que certains partis politiques et d'autres leaders puissent demander aux Camerounais de s'habiller en noir, notamment le CPP de Kawala, notamment le MS du président Moïse Kamto et d'autres formations politiques, donc le SDF également, pour que M. Biapol décide aujourd'hui qu'il y aurait deux nationales samedi. Non, c'est une manière de gouverner par retardement. Les Camerounais sont fatigués. Et je suis d'accord avec mon compagnon, c'est que les Camerounais doivent comprendre chose. Cette crise doit être résolue par tous les moyens et elle ne devrait pas être résolue avec M. Biapol. M. Biapol est le problème de cette crise anglophone. Il ne serait la solution. Et je suis parfaitement d'accord que ce samedi d'ailleurs même, les Camerounais doivent faire un shutdown, les villes mortes. C'est-à-dire, on doit démontrer aux ambassoniens et au gouvernement camerounais, parce qu'il y a une économie parallèle de guerre qui se crée. Les ententes qui sont ficelées entre les ambassoniens et certaines personnes, certains ponts du régime, pour maintenir cette guerre-là. Et quand les défenses se battent, comme il a si bien dit, ce sont les êtres qui sont piétinés. C'est le peuple camerounais qui souffre, c'est nous qui souffrons. Donc, il faudrait que les gens prennent conscience. Ce n'est plus une histoire du MRC, du SDF, du CPP et consorts, non. C'est une histoire du peuple camerounais. Et les Camerounais devront s'unir en un seul. La question, ce n'est même pas de dire si M. Biapol qui prend le pouvoir. Nous, au MRC, nous sommes plus dans cette logique-là. Que le MRC devrait prendre, que le président, lui, ça ne nous intéresse pas. M. Biapol, on doit faire les villes mortes, bien Moscou. Une fois qu'il partira, il pourra avoir un gouvernement de transition. Les Camerounais vont s'asseoir, nous allons nous asseoir. Nous allons trouver des solutions pour le pays, des solutions que M. Biapol n'a pas pu trouver. Nous allons nous entendre avec nos frères anglophones. Et au sortir de là, nous pourrions apporter le bien-être au peuple camerounais et résoudre cette crise-là. Donc aujourd'hui, ce n'est plus de dire le 11 citoyen Cabral Libré, c'est simplement un problème du peuple camerounais.
Ok, Apostle Ambe, Yaounde saw a manifestation that was led by the Minister of Women Empowerment and the Family. Many persons are asking that, okay, it is nice that Yaounde manifests, but they would have expected to see the minister herself move to join manifestations, either the manifestations of Buea today or those of Bamenda yesterday, that is on ground zero, or why not herself move to Kumba?
Well, we weren't even expecting the minister to come by this hour. From the time Bamenda was killed as the mother of the nation in a capacity, because she's a minister of women empowerment. The very death of Mata was supposed to have caused an alarm in the country. That was where, because my problem with when people keep coming on air and saying that we condemn, that condemnation doesn't solve any problem. Somebody attacked me that why haven't I said anything concerning the Kumba massacre? I say, is it by coming on social media to say I condemn that makes you patriotic? That's not the issue. Being a patriot is carrying practical solutions to solve problems. If she is the Minister of Women's Empowerment, I think she has delegates in all the 10 regions of the country. And power is in her hand. she can cause her different delegates in all the different regions of the country to stir up an uproar nationally. My problem is this: if we claim that the English-speaking sector of the country is part of this country, then the burden of that part of the country is supposed to affect every other part of this country. But it looks like when it comes to own the country and its resources, it belongs to everyone. But when it comes to problems, it belongs to the Anglophones. It shouldn't be like that. If I am part of you, I should be able to bear you in times of trouble and in times of goodness. They claim that the part of that country is a country's property, the national territory. It's not violated. But when it comes to fighting for the right or the poor of that particular area, it looks like it is their responsibility. Are we in relationship only in good times and bad at bad times, or what? If she is a mother in that department of this country, I think all the 10 regions of this country are supposed to start crying the blood spilled by the children from Baby Mata to Menka to Ngabu and right now to Kumba. Now, if she gets up in a few group of people in Yaounde to organize a march, to me is an abuse and a disgrace. Secondly, is a provocation to the people who have lost their family members. I think she was supposed to cause a national uproar, and I'm still singing it again, that there is nobody that will come to solve this problem. The solution to this problem is in the hands of these Cameroonians. Their responsibility is to make sure that the common man does not continue to suffer the heat perpetrated by these two extremes, the amber sector and the military. And the last thing I have to say is this: if actually those mothers who rose in Bamenda in their numbers in that capacity is the same number rose in Marwa, Garwa, Ngaoundere, Bamenda, Buea, Limbe, Yaounde, Douala, and they stay by the roadside, there will be a shift in this country. As a matter of fact, the destiny of this nation now is in the hands of the common man. The next thing I want to ascertain again is this: not only the women are called upon, the youth of this country are supposed to take up the responsibilities. The fact that some of us have escaped from the restive regions and come to where there is no tension, that doesn't make us exempted from the casualty, because every single blood spilled upon this land affects each and every one. Our population is reducing nationally. GDP is dropping as a result of the crisis. So if this thing is not eating you, you will not understand. And I've said that as far as the crisis is concerned, I don't think it's pinching the government, because if it was pinching the government, it will look for a solution. I don't think it's pinching the amber, because if it was pinching, it will look for a solution. The people that is really pinching is the common man, and I think the common has to rise up and take up their responsibility. Now, children have died in Gabu, Mata have died in Moyoka, this one has died in Kumba. I'm asking a simple question: for how long shall we continue to bury the dead? And how many persons are we going to bury again? And how many condemnations are we going to be condemning while the population is gradually being annihilated? I think there is a time for everything. It is time to get the bull by the horn. If this entire territory of Cameroon wants this problem solved, the government, not the amber, they are not above the population. They can stop it. So we are calling a campaign of 300,000 mothers in the far north, 500,000 in the north, 500,000 in Adamawa. Let them go to the state of the Orange Revolution in Ukraine. We are not coming out to oust the government. We are not coming out to fight the political parties. We are coming for this particular issue to be handled. The tag to be on the placards with that: solve Anglophone crisis. We are not coming, mothers are not coming out to kick out the government. The government can stay for as long as they want, but the government to give us a solution to the Anglophone crisis. Mothers, you are the one that breastfed this nation. Remove your breast in the streets. Sit in the street and cry for motherland, because it is your breath that you use to breastfeed all these men who are in power tormenting these people. All those ministers and presidents and governors, they suck women breast. If you refuse to give them that breast in this nation, there will be a change. I think that is the time, because we cannot keep on burying children. No, don't laugh here, because those children blood in Kumba is getting the thing out of hands. We should not wait again for another group again to die before we say I condemn. What nonsense? What nonsense? Condemn what? What are we condemning? Mothers, get out into the streets. You fed this nation. You fed this nation.
Okay. Greetings to you, Mr. Leo, and our co-panelists in the studio. I never knew that the international bodies are still active till when I heard of what happened in Nigeria. This only means one thing, that we are not recognized even in the world map. Claudia is writing from Antico. We are going to get a reaction from Professor Maurice Kamto, National President of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, reacting to what happened in Kumba.
My dear compatriots, on 24 October 2020, the private school complex, Mother Francisca International Bilingual Academy, Mofriba, located in the city of Kumba, was attacked by a group of armed people, so far unidentified. According to the latest figures, the said attack resulted in a very heavy toll, namely 7 dead, 6 girls and 1 boy, brutally murdered, as well as 12 injured, 9 girls and 3 boys. According to reports, in the wake of this tragedy, the mother of 4 of the murdered children would have surrendered after being informed of the tragedy. The Cameroon Renaissance Movement would like to extend its deepest condolences and express its sympathy to the families of the victims, together with its wishes for a speedy recovery to the injured. In addition, the CRM condemns in the strongest terms these odious, barbaric, and unacceptable acts perpetrated by inhuman people against defenseless school children. Calls for an independent international investigation into these atrocities to be opened, followed by prosecution and severe sentences against the perpetrators. The CRN points out to deplore the attitude of the regime, which continues to favor the military option for the settlement of the Anglophone crisis, even though it has shown all its limits. In fact, for about 3 years, that this absurd and unnecessary war has been going on. The government has not defeated the armed groups through the military option and still failed to ensure the security of people and property in the northwest and southwest regions. As much as it is unacceptable that this government encouraged parents to send their children to school in this war zone without having first taken the necessary security measures, it is just as immoral and shocking for this same government to refuse to assume their responsibilities. Indeed, the Minister of Communication advances the fallacious pretext that, unquote, the private school complex Mother Francisca International Bilingual Academy only launched its activities at the beginning of the academic year 2021 without the knowledge of the competent administrative authorities and could not benefit from the same protection or protective measures as other schools in the Meme division. End of quote. However, the advertising plate of this school, which, by the way, is located in the heart of the city of Kumba, proves that it is much older. Moreover, does not every government have the obligation to protect its citizens, and even more so children, in all circumstances? Therefore, the CRM, while disapproving of the trivialization of violence in the Anglophone crisis, reiterates once again the following emergency measures. 1. An immediate ceasefire accepted by both the government and separatist groups. 2. the establishment of an independent international commission of inquiry to shed light on all the crimes committed in the Northwest and Southwest since the outbreak of the Anglophone crisis, starting with the Kumba tragedy. 3. The opening of a genuine inclusive dialogue with the facilitation of international partners. 4. The release of all those arrested in connection with the Anglophone crisis. The implementation of these measures is even more urgent since no army can win an asymmetrical civil war without decimating the innocent civilian population, and therefore without committing atrocities that no responsible government can allow. It is impossible for the government to put a policeman or gendarme behind every person living in the Northwest and Southwest. As I have said repeatedly, a war waged by a government against its own people is the most blatant expression of policy failure. It becomes one of the most serious crimes, deeply shocking the human conscience when it is done while.
Okay, that was Professor Maurice Kamto addressing the killings of students of a college out there in Kumba, headquarters of Kmer division. We are going to continue with our discussions out here with you, Professor Mark Anthony. Apostle Ambi was talking about the need for women to come out courageously, and that it is the common man that has to put an end to future attacks of students who may find themselves in similar circumstances or situations.
Leo, I want to say I will take the position of Apostle Ambi, because sincerely it has been a period of mourning for over 4 good years. We have been mourning and mourning, and taking into consideration that these women are the mothers of these children that were actually killed, it is just but normal that they should step out. And not only women stepping out, the youth will have to support them, because it is something that is going out of hands. We can't sit quiet and say that the government is going to solve the problem. We have seen a series of suggestions and proposals that have been given to the Cameroon government, and calls from the international bodies and persons and whatsoever, but no reaction. We have seen in every way possible calls to the separatists to be able to come together and sit on a table, but there is no solution. None of them are actually intending to solve the problem. As much as I appreciate the points that Kamto just listed out there, I actually also differ with him, considering that he keeps calling the international body to come for investigation. I don't think that we need any international body in Cameroon to solve Cameroon's problems.
Why?
Reason being that for a very long period of time, most of these bodies we call international bodies have been the same bodies that have been causing destabilization in Africa, and most in Cameroon. So we can't go back to the same people who are the cause of our problems. Getting to them means that we are still sacrificing more lives. And when you look at the situations, I just heard somebody cited a situation. For 4 good years, we have been under a situation where lives have been taken continuously, and we never heard or see any real reaction from these international organizations. But the situation that just happened in Nigeria a couple of days ago, I even saw it on CNN daily. CNN has never thought of showing anything that's happening in Cameroon. I have seen a lot of persons, international organizations rising up and
calling for an
end to SARS.
Yes, with how many deaths? But we have about more than 4,000 deaths in Cameroon.
See, when you look at it, you start asking the question, is it like Cameroon does not exist in their map? Because if the people stepped out and asked the Cameroon government, okay, we need that these students should be taught English in English classes, not that they should receive Francophone teachers, that was enough a problem. And nobody said anything. It resulted to a war. Nobody is saying anything. Let us stop depending on a people who don't have our time. Let us solve our problems. And I think, like I said earlier, taking the part that Apostle Ambe just mentioned, let the mothers of these same children be the ones who take the lead and step out, ask this government to and the Amber boys to solve this problem, or let them keep their arms on the ground, because we can't keep on going and seeing more deaths every day and expecting that they will solve it. The Cameroon government cannot solve it. The Amber boys cannot solve it. The only people that can solve it is us.
Okay.
Women.
Robert Malafe, do you think that from every indication the government is not ready to solve these issues, and the separatist leaders themselves have not shown enough proof? Because this has been going on for more than 4 years now, and there is no clear lights before us to say that this is going to have a definite end in the next 2, 3, 4 months.
The government has been doing enough, and the government is still doing enough.
Okay.
The question we should ask ourselves is, what are these brothers in Europe that are getting people contributions and they are fighting and killing themselves there in Europe? What have they done? When we talk about negotiation, discussing together, what compromise have they done? We've seen what the government have done. If I start to count them, some people will even say it is cosmetic, but I'll ask them, what has Amber done to solve this problem that is cosmetic? Even half, what have they done? If I start to enumerate that of the government, some people say it's cosmetic. Of course, that's what some people will claim. But what has the Amber guys done?
What has the government done?
Pardon?
What has the government done?
Should I start to call the special status? Should I start to tell you that Anglophones
have the special status?
Common status. Special status is talking about people in the northwest and southwest to be able to manage their educational affair. They should be able to manage their judicial affair. They should be able to manage their financial affair. There are many of them there that have been carved out in the special status. The problem there is good faith. We should have good faith. Something we will see the special status after the regional election. The regional election is about to take place next month, and we'll see it. When you start to castigate something that you not even put in place, just so you have bad faith. And this is the problem we have in this country. Something has not been put in place, and you're asking where is the special status. It needs to be put in place in Cameroon and be practiced. Then you see it. So do you wonder that they should tie it and come and show you in the other this is special status? It is supposed to be practiced. And when it will be practiced, that's where you will see it. So the issue is that we should have good faith. Now that all of you are talking about all these things, people are dying in the street. I will now challenge you, what are the Ambers that are killing children, what have they done as a compromise to complete this crisis that we're having? Okay, there is nothing people will say. They have nothing to give as compromise with regards to this crisis. Okay. We see them in Europe getting contribution of people fighting among themselves, insulting themselves and chopping people's money while people are dying back at home. Okay. And we keep on saying the government have done nothing. What have they done?
Tamfu Jones, do you think like Professor Mark Anthony is saying that the international community, from every indication, seems to have turned a blind eye to what is happening in Cameroon, and that the government and the separatists have not shown enough proof, or yes, they have not shown the will to want to put a definite end to what is happening?
Mr. Leo, it is sad, but it's a reality, because at this point in time I think it is set. Only a fool will continue doing the same thing, and expecting a different result. For the past 4 years, thousands of Cameroonians have died, thousands have been displaced because of this war. So far, what the international community did was have been calling Mr. Buea, solve this problem, organize a genuine dialogue, and Mr. Buea have not done that. And they of the international community, nobody have raised a little finger. Means that they pay little or no attention to what is happening in Cameroon. So I don't think that we should continue killing ourselves, hoping that we are killing to impress the international community, who will in turn have some sympathy on us to come and solve the problem. We are killing ourselves for nothing, because they will never come. So I think that I am agreeing with Professor Mark Anthony that these people don't care about us. So time has come for us to take the bull by the horns, given that if these women came out yesterday and they could not be arrested as the men who were arrested in the beginning, I think that we should now say that the women are our joker. And adding to that, Mr. Apostle Ambe said earlier that these women, they suckled this nation. All the presidents sucked their mother's breast. And I will add to it that they are still sucking the president today, or they are still sucking the women's breast even today. These breasts they are sucking and killing the children of women. Because when we talk about the killings, we have the military who are also dying. And there are people's children. Apart from being people's fat parents, there are people's children who are dying. The ambas who are dying are people's children. And then the civil society, members of the civil society who are dying are also people's children. And the women who are also dying are still women's children. So I think all life matters, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, no matter the misunderstanding, no matter the atrocities, we will still come to the table to talk and have a common ground. So I believe that time has come, because if we say men should protest or do whatsoever, then we are doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now that the women have started, I will encourage that they continue to press on. And I will encourage them that they should even staff the men of sex back at home, so that they will feel the pinch of the pains of these women. Mr. Leo, we have seen women digging the graves to bury their sons. I think this should come to an end. The women should use their weapon, what they have, that they can control a man with. This is the time that the wives of these ministers should tell him that, Mr. Minister, since you cannot push Mr. President to solve this problem, you will no more enter Jerusalem. And let's see if it will not work. And after that, they should not go on the street as they were crying in Bamenda, rolling on the ground, and let's see what it will take. If it fails, I think we will take and we will see into how we will take it to another step and see what to do next.
Ok. Alex Nguepi, nous avions suivi votre président national et il a parlé de faire that is an investigation into independent international investigation to this, and calling on yes, lots of things to come from the international community. 4 years after, no intervention from the international community. Should we not seek common solutions to what is happening? I'm talking about local solutions to what is happening in the southwest and other regions.
Bon, oui, il faudrait que les solutions soient locales. On doit avoir des solutions qui viennent du peuple camerounais, c'est vrai. Mais il faut aussi se référer à l'histoire. Que l'un des meilleurs résultats que le peuple camerounais a obtenu, c'était le conflit de Bakassi. Et c'est parce qu'il y avait eu aussi une médiation internationale. Donnez-moi un seul problème depuis 1958 que les Camerounais ont pu le résoudre par eux-mêmes. Ça n'existe pas. Et même quand ils l'ont résolu, ça a toujours eu des conséquences. Par exemple, allons-y à la conférence de de 61, c'était les Camerounais. Lui, puis ça a été écarté. On a mis sur pied un État fédéral. L'État fédéral qui avait plutôt l'esprit de la République par rapport aux francophones. Et on a commencé à matraquer les anglophones dès 1962. Au niveau du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. On a envoyé les gendarmes au nord-ouest et au sud-ouest. Alors que les anglophones connaissaient la police, ils ne connaissaient pas les gendarmes. Les gendarmes ont commencé à marcher avec des véhicules non immatriculés. Voilà par exemple quelque chose qu'on a commencé à faire sans l'international, et c'était un échec. En 72, lorsqu'on a voulu passer de la République fédérale à la République unie du Cameroun, c'était encore quelques groupes de Camerounais, les mafieux, entre eux. Ils n'ont pas respecté la Constitution de 61. Ils ont mis sur pied la Constitution de 72. Avec un référendum, avec bulletin oui ou yes, pas non ou non, où ils ont eu 19,92%. Même ça, ils n'auraient pas fait mieux. Voilà encore, ça a encore été un échec parce que en 1982, lorsque le président togolais, tout ça, voulait venir au Cameroun pour la grande fête d'indépendance du Cameroun, il n'était pas venu. Donc, on va encore au grand international, on va encore à la tripartite. La tripartite a été organisée, c'est-à-dire avant la tripartite, il y a eu les villes mortes de 1990, et au là, il y a eu la tripartite qui a été mise sur pied. Entre les Camerounais, ça a encore été un échec. Monsieur, c'est-à-dire que tout ce que nous avons pu, nous avons eu des problèmes sur le Cameroun. Chaque fois que les Camerounais ont voulu résoudre d'eux-mêmes, il y a toujours eu la corruption qui a toujours intervenu et il y a toujours eu échec. Donc, on quitte 82, on s'en va même à 1996, lors de la Constitution de 1996. On a mis sur pied une Constitution de nous-mêmes. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? 20 ans plus tard, on n'arrive pas à implémenter la Constitution de 1996. C'est-à-dire, aujourd'hui, on parle de la régionalisation du statut spécial. Mais ce statut spécial existe depuis 1996, c'est pas nouveau. C'est pas nouveau ce statut spécial. 24 ans plus tard, il n'est pas implémenté. La haute cour de justice, qui est supposée juger le président de la République et les ministres en fonction, n'est pas implémentée. Donc, nous sommes 24 ans plus tard, on n'arrive pas toujours à implémenter les choses. Et aujourd'hui, donc, avec fort heureusement de ce constat, il faut rappeler qu'en 2002-2008, le véritable succès qu'on a eu sur Bakassi, c'est parce qu'il y a bel et bien eu la communauté internationale qui s'est ingérée. On devrait voir notre histoire et voir les réussites. Il est vrai qu'en tant que nationaliste, en tant que panafricain, panafricanisme, ce n'est pas la bonne solution. Peut-être pas que ce n'est pas peut-être l'idéal quand on est panafricaniste de dire l'international. Mais l'international ici n'est pas forcément l'Europe. Ça peut être le Togo, le Gabon, ça peut être le Sénégal, le Ghana, le Nigeria.
Mais qu'est-ce qui les empêche? Nous avions vu, nous avions le Tchad, la Guinée équatoriale, le Congo, et d'autres, ils n'ont rien fait. We have guys from the West, like Togo, the African Union. They have not done anything.
Oui, effectivement. Donc, quand c'est international, ça peut être le Togo.
Mais s'ils ne sont plus ici,
ils ne s'intéressent pas. Oui, voilà pourquoi est-ce que nous appelons l'international. On n'a pas dit qu'ils sont à l'international. Nous espérons que l'Union africaine pourra agir. Nous espérons même que la CEMAC, qui a un conseil de sécurité, la science.
Vous espérez, mais s'ils ne veulent pas.
Permettez-moi, monsieur Léo, permettez-moi. Je dis bien, c'est un vœu pieux que nous avions adressé, qu'une enquête internationale devrait être organisée, une enquête internationale et indépendante et impartiale. Ça peut être le Gabon et le Tchad qui décident d'organiser cette enquête.
Oui, mais la question, s'ils ne veulent pas le faire.
Monsieur Léo, la question, s'ils ne veulent pas le faire, cela prouve donc que le régime ne veut pas que la vérité soit établie. Tout simplement. Donc, parce que nous pensons, permettez-moi.
Je dis pas le régime, je dis que si le Togo, par exemple, le Ghana, le Tchad,
vous pouvez me permettre votre part question que je m'interromps chaque fois, s'il vous plaît, permettez-moi. Je vous donne dire quoi. Rappelons-nous pour Gabou, par exemple. Gabou, on s'est appuyé sur l'international pour donner les résultats. Parce qu'il y a eu des images qui ont été publiées par l'international. Pour ceux qui sont morts au nord, c'est la communauté internationale qui a sorti les images satellitaires. Quand l'État du Cameroun a refusé dans cette terre au Mali. Donc, qu'on le veuille ou pas, nos meilleurs résultats ont été obtenus avec
Ngabou, let's get to Ngabou. Ngabou, the government gave a position, Human Rights Watch gave another position that turned out to be true. But for Kumba already, we have already a statement from Human Rights Watch that already says that the separatists yes. So why do you want to believe Human Rights Watch for Ngabou?
Non, monsieur, nous n'avons pas cru à monsieur Léo. Nous entrons dans ce ping-pong là. Vous me posez une question, je vous prends votre question.
Non, vous avez parlé des satellites et c'est Human Rights Watch qui a parlé des satellites pour Ngabou.
Oui, monsieur Léo. Oui. On vous dit, nous pensons et nous demandons qu'il y ait une enquête internationale indépendante et impartiale. C'est notre position. Si jamais on veut identifier les coupables de ce crime, ceux qui ont appuyé...
Pour qu'on soit clair, vous voulez que an international and an independent international commission should investigate. But my question to you is, we have Chad, we have Gabon, we have Togo and the rest. What if they don't show interest in wanting to come in to investigate? What do we do?
Avez-vous appelé le Tchad au Gabon qu'ils ont refusé? Ce gouvernement de faire appel, puisqu'ils sont notre gouverneur. Vous pensez que ce Cameroun demande vous pensez que ce gouvernement camerounais demande au Tchad, au Congo, d'ouvrir une enquête internationale, il va refuser? Bien, c'est parce que permettez-moi s'il vous plaît, on n'est pas modérateur. Donc, notre vœu est qu'il y ait une enquête internationale indépendante. Voilà la question. Est-ce que le régime du RDPC va le faire? Nous ne savons pas. Parce que s'il faut établir les responsabilités, nous refusons d'accuser l'armée camerounaise. Nous refusons d'accuser les Amazoniens. Nous refusons d'accuser toute une autre personne. Nous savons que des crimes crapuleux ont été commis, mais nous sommes aussi conscients, nous acceptons qu'il y a une responsabilité politique. De ce côté, ça ne souffre de rien et que c'est le RDPC et sa politique sécuritaire qui a échoué. Maintenant, ceci étant dit...
Non, vous avez beaucoup parlé, non? Vous avez parlé plus de 10 minutes. Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists are enjoying the program. Keep up the good job. Mr. Liu, God bless you. Daisy is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Daisy. I am Mr. Mweti. I would like to advise the persons like, okay, should not be, okay. Okay, please, let's be. Good evening to all the panelists. I'm very grateful with your topic of discussions. In fact, you are talking is what can help this situation positively. Okay, Ashu Paul writing from Limbe. Good evening to you, Ashu Paul. This one says, I can see people talking but no voice, but the radio voice behind the scene. We only get but a radio sound from the background, no voice from panelists. Okay, the technicians, I don't know whether it is from the studio or from somewhere. Mr. Liu, good evening. Is Mr. Kade defending CPDM or talking about Cameroon problem to end? Good evening, Mr. Liu. You are no more reading my messages. The government will give account to God. Hi to Prof. Mark and Apostle Esther is writing from Yaounde. Esther, I've read your message. Sorry. The messages at times are so many. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and facilitation and okay, you are saying congratulations to Apostle Ambe. I enjoy your thoughts. Tell, okay, that special status. Tell Robert that special status. Okay, Akoja is writing from Menka. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Tell Mr. Mark Anthony that when next he is to appear on stage. Okay, I'll tell him privately. Okay. Oops, this one said. Hello, I wish to ask Apostle Mbe, can the church play a role in solving the crisis? Brother Cedric is writing from Kumba. This one says, why did they go and look for a teacher in his house in the night? Please, my brother, I love you all because you tell the truth. Thank you very much. David from Kumba. I'm in line with Prophet Mbe. I love your argument concerning this horrible incident in Fiango in Kumba. Good evening to all of you in the studio and good evening to all Cameroonians. There is only one way to end this crisis, that is for every Cameroonian, be it man or woman, to go to the streets to fight to ask for an end. Noel Wawa writing from Bamenda. This one says, we have waited for too long for the solutions to no avail. We must take justice to our hands. Let's launch an abstinence from civic responsibilities and not just do the condemning strategies that has no effects. Ndote is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. In war countries, people run for safety to the hospital, churches, and schools. But in the southwest and northwest regions, okay, people are killed in these places. Mari is writing from Limbe. We are going to take a short transition. When we come back, we discuss about our next topic. Welcome back. We move on to our next topic, which has to do with the false alarm that was raised in Fakou Division yesterday, claiming that schools were attacked by separatist activists, which turned out to be false. Many parents rushed to secondary schools in Limbe, in Mutengede and Buea, asking for their children to be released and taken home, which actually was not true. Can we have videos of what happened in Limbe and some of the schools in Fakou Division yesterday before we get into discussing it? The videos are still not ready. I'll ask you, Apostle Ambe, who would be behind what happened in Fakou Division yesterday?
Well, a crisis have many ways they suffer. One of the crises we have is social media crisis that has not been addressed. Social media crisis is the carrying or dishing out of information that are not authentic and they are not real. And a lot of people just receive those information and start forwarding them to different sectors without finding out actually if those informations are true. Who could be possibly behind that? I would say people who are just excited on social media about what is happening in the country. Because I don't think somebody can be very idle enough to sponsor such an act. When things occur, sometimes people just get excited. They get information from social media without authenticating the source, and they start spreading it everywhere, causing unnecessary tension. That's why when once they said Cameroonians were being maltreated in China, I saw some videos. I didn't make conclusions. I had to make a call right to China. I did some calls yesterday in Southwest, and it was very, very shocking that some people were in Southwest also accepted that the thing was true. Until I got your video, you went to Ombe school and video the teacher who was teaching in class. That was when I was convinced. Because even people from Southwest who were running Helter-Skelter equally knew that something had happened in schools. Somebody called me and told me that they have killed 2 children or 2 students in Ombe. They are lying flat at the gate. That's information they gathered from somewhere. And I took the information also knowing that he is on ground. Probably I would have taken it also. I think it's just a misrepresentation of information and a confusion when crises occur like that. You know, when things occur, people have an imagination that probably such things can occur, but those are all the inconvenience when it comes to national crisis. I don't think there are some individuals who are practically responsible for such fake information on social media.
Yeah, how do we understand the spontaneity with which parents rush to get their children from schools in Limbe? Because Limbe actually was in a very confused mood when people heard that there was an attack in faraway Ombe.
Mr. Leo, with threats coming from most of these separatist leaders out of the country about those going to school, if their children are going to school, you will be attacked or the children will be attacked. With such a news coming from, let's say, I don't know, social media or wherever it came from, it was just but normal that there should be panic. And it led into the situation where a lot of persons got disturbed. I will tell you, my wife called me and told me, as we are talking, 2 children have been killed in Ombe. She's in Buea. And I believed her version of the story because by then she got news from Mutengene. And I definitely told her, let the children not go to school. Yes, and that is how it happened. And you can imagine what is happening. A lot of persons, immediately the news when it was their children first they were thinking of. Just imagine the situation that happened in Kumba. That was already enough to announce to people that if you allow your children there, they can be the next. And so everybody will fight to protect their children. And so they rush to collect those children. And you see, that is the state in which we are living in. What will you explain that will be the traumatic situation in which these children will be facing? They are being traumatized. And in such a situation, it happens that for over 3 good years, they have been going through such a situation. And so it is just but normal, Mr. Leo, that with the least panic, with the least news that is controversial, there should be panic. And with such a panic, it is instead possible that more harm, because I saw children jumping from over the fences. And you can imagine that kind, somebody jumping over a fence. What happens if that child jumps and breaks his leg? What happens if rushing out of school a car knocks them down? So all those things are put into play, and you discover that the situation in which we are in presently in the Northwest and Southwest is not a situation that we should welcome. And the threats also that are coming from those who don't want children to go to school, like I listened to a lady in, I don't know whether it's California or wherever, threatening the lives of teachers, threatening the lives of parents who are going to send their kids to school.
Okay.
When I listened to it, I got, look at it, children jumping over fence. That is something that before will face a disciplinary action. But it was just been normal that children should jump over.
Yeah. Robert Malanfe, can we say that it also is a spillover effect of what recently happened in Kumba?
The truth is, we are in a conflict zone. Nobody is debating or telling a lie that everything is 100% well. And when a parent gets such a news, whether true or fake, the panic is just there to go and save life. They are just being parents and ready to protect their own. That is why we need to much more attack this in a psychological manner, to tell parents not to have that fear and not to believe anything they see on social media and just react on it immediately. We've seen fake news that have been published even by members of some political parties that the University of Bamenda have been attacked. We've seen all those fake news. And this goes back to the problem we have. When some people sit in their house, they smoke their India hemp, they just go on social media. There is 2 days ghost town. If you come out, we'll cut off your head. And you see people, because of fear, they will stay in their house for 2 days. Somebody will just go on social media, we don't know the problem, that maybe he's having a problem with a girlfriend, and just come out and say we have 8-day lockdown, nobody goes out. That's why we see the people of the Northwest and Southwest should beat out this fear and then start. This is because one of our viewers sent a message that am I here to defend the CPTMO to bring out solution. Many people fail to understand this. Before I being a member of a political party, I'm first of all a Cameroonian, and I'm from the Northwest, and that cannot be taken from me. But the truth is, we should be able to say the truth. As we are putting more pressure on the government, it is our right. We vote them there. We have the right to say, please, we need more of security. We appreciate those that have given, and we ask for more. But for the same time, we should be able to tell these armed fighters to drop their arms. We should be able to tell them not to kill our children. We should be able to tell them to allow us to go to farm. We should be able to tell them that we need to go back to school. We should be able to tell them the truth too. But when you keep on saying that the government have done nothing, and at times I ask people, you say the government have done nothing. What has this Amber guys done to ensure that there is peace? If you say the government have done nothing with all what the government have done, they've done virtually nothing. Somebody will sit in the diaspora and pass a barbaric information that if your child go to school, they'll chop off the limbs. But the children are there and they are going to school. And this person knows that it's a fundamental human right that these children need to go to school. So the main issue is for people in the Northwest and Southwest to kill out this fear. They should send out this fear away. I don't even know why some people are locking up on Ghost Town Day. It's just fear. Nothing is there. They should kick out this fear. And as we are saying that women should be able to stand up. When you stand up, ask the government more, you are correct. But tell these guys to stop this nonsense.
You say it's just fear, but we saw children killed in the school.
Seriously, what we say is just fear. I earlier said that these barbaric acts are happening. That I cannot deny. We are in a conflict zone. We denounce what happened in Kumba. And I went further to say that yes, few hours after what happened in Kumba, there was fear and panic. It was fear what happened towards Limbe there. It was not real. Okay. These children jumping the fences was fear. Or you are telling me that I was not fear this. It was due to fear, panic. And that's why I'm saying that people should be able to beat our fear while looking for the solution.
It was a false alarm. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your program. Keep on, sir. Beltus is writing from Ngusi. Good evening to you, Beltus. Good evening, everyone. The main reason why Cameroon is not treated as Nigeria is because English Cameroonians don't seem to react to its pains and hurt as compared to the Nigerians. Here, it seems only the Ambas seem to feel the pains most, while the rest civilians are... Stop calling, please. While the rest Cameroonians are on their chairs. Agbo Baldwin writing... this one says, Apostle Ambe, you talk, I'm all. Thank you, gentlemen, for this info, because my colleagues almost beat me when the news came in and I said it was fake. Okay, thank you. Also, this one says, bonsoir, bonsoir aussi à vous. Good evening, is Franklin writing from Douala. We are tired of too much talking and nothing is done to solve the Anglophone crisis. This is 4 years now. People can't go on with the activities. Normally, it is crazy. Franklin is writing from Yaounde. Good evening to you, Franklin. Good evening, gentlemen in the studio. Good talking points, good analysis, Prof. Mark, and my main man, Apostle Ambe. They are doing a good job, but okay. Valentine is writing from Kumba. Was this not also the spontaneity with which persons reacted to this news is also thanks to the prevailing atmosphere, that atmosphere of uncertainty in the southwest and northwest?
It is, as Kedia said, it's a war zone. And in a war zone, even that there are explosions all the time, there are gunshots all the time. So if there's a tire puncture, people will misinterpret it for an explosion, and that they will create panic, and we will have what we saw in Ombe, Limbe, and Kumba, and all that. So it is but normal. So, but it is unfortunate that on the social media, people propagate fake news. People don't have the least patience to verify the information they share. They only share, they're excited. Some are happy to see such things happening. Some are excited. I don't understand how we want to move forward. That's why I am saying that for all these things to come to an end, let us solve this problem. End this war. Because as long as there's war, Mr. Kum, there will be atrocities. As long as there's war, we will have children, all these uncertainties. So to end all this, do away with all this, let us see it into either we fight for the government to end this war. The government declared the war on terrorists. I think that time has come for the government to call for a ceasefire and ask the people who think otherwise what they want or whatsoever. Let them look for a way to end this war. And I will repeat it here that I said earlier that men should be staffed, and I will repeat it. Because by the time a man goes out, drink his beer and come back home and meet his wife and he serves her good food on the table and in the room, another plate of meal is waiting for him, then he goes and eat. He thinks that there's no problem. This woman should show sign of solidarity with those that have gone to the street. The fight should not only be on the street. It should be on the street, in the kitchen, and in the room. Let this man feel the impact. Because by the time the soldier man come back from mission after 2 months and tell madam, I want to enter Jerusalem, he said, you people should stop fighting, no Jerusalem for you till you stop spilling blood. By the time the boys leave the bushes, then madam, I have taken the retreat, I want to enter Jerusalem. He tells him that there's no Jerusalem, no food for you in this house, till this thing comes to an end. By the time the minister comes, then madam, can I visit the shrine? Madam tells him that, till you tell Mr. Bia to solve this problem before you can visit the shrine. If not, nothing. I think that the men will become reasonable enough.
Yeah, but should the women, the minister of women empowerment, not also take the lead in what you are saying? That is calling on the government to address this issue. Like Apostle Ambe said.
That is what we're expecting, because we are talking about the woman or women empowerment. What about that of scientific research? Is she not a woman? Don't she have children? They are all women, all the women who are in government.
who occupies most of responsibilities.
Yeah, but
it is their duty.
The separatist leaders also have women.
That's why I'm telling you that if a man comes from the bush and tell the man that want to visit the shrine, tell him that you post up this rubbish. If not, you will not say this thing again. He goes to the prostitute says yes, you will not do it till you stop this thing. Even the guys abroad who say that people should do this, people should do that, if their wife do same, I think that there will be a result. Because from statistics, from what we had yesterday, Mr. Kum, so far we have not had that a woman was arrested who was on the street. But when the men went on the street, they were arrested. Those who went against the ambas, some were taken to the bushes. So if these women were not touched, I think that this is our hope. We should place our hope in the women.
Okay, Alex Ngepi, we saw the risk that the children were exposed to yesterday when a false alarm came up that children had been killed in GTHS Ombe. That turned out to be false. Does this also press on the stakeholders, the government and the separatists, to find a lasting solution to the existing problem so that we no longer find situations like this in the future?
Oui, nous avons toujours demandé justement cela, que le gouvernement et les Amazoniens cherchent des solutions pour qu'on n'ait pas cela. Mais malheureusement, il y a l'économie de la guerre qui s'est développée. Okay. C'est-à-dire, le gouvernement, vous avez des gens qui sont dans le gouvernement qui pensent qu'il faut s'enrichir plus qu'il en faut. Vous avez des ambabos qui pensent qu'il faut qu'ils aient plus d'argent, plus qu'il en faut, et c'est le peuple qui s'ouvre. Voilà pourquoi sur MS, on te dit que la seule solution serait une solution politique. Et nous avons déjà identifié la responsabilité politique, c'est M. Biapol et son gouvernement. Sur ce côté de ce point de vue, nous sommes clairs dessus. Et il faudrait qu'on dise aux gens, et j'ai aimé ce que Robert a dit, les droits fondamentaux, oui, le droit à la vie, ce sont des droits inaliénables. Ce sont des droits qu'on ne peut pas empêcher. Donc, parce qu'il y a le droit à la vie, parce qu'il y a le droit à l'éducation, que nous demandons que cette crise puisse être résolue. Pourquoi le droit à la vie? Le droit à la vie, parce qu'on se rappelle déjà qu'il y a eu des morts, hein, il y a des milliers de morts au Nozo, il y a des enfants qui sont tués dans ce conflit. Ceci choque parce que ça a été perpétré dans un établissement. Mais lorsque les Amazoniens font leur crime, avec l'armée camerounaise font leur crime, on a bien des enfants à l'intérieur et qu'on passe des dommages collatéraux. Donc nous espérons que les femmes qui sont porteuses, qui mettent qui accouchent au Cameroun vont prendre ce problème à main le corps et que les Camerounais vont suivre. Et nous disons, et nous réitérons, il faut que samedi, les gens sortent et s'indignent. Il ne faut pas que samedi, les gens restent chez eux. Ils disent que non, samedi c'est un jour de deuil, c'est un jour férié, on va rester à la maison, préparer, manger et boire. Non, il faudrait que samedi...
Qui appelle que les gens sortent? C'est le...
Non, l'État a dit, samedi, c'est un deuil national.
Oui.
Mais je dis samedi, le peuple camerounais, pas le MRC, le peuple camerounais, c'est plus une question de parti politique, c'est un problème de citoyenneté. Oui. Il faudrait que les Camerounais comprennent que cette guerre a assez duré et il faut qu'il y ait une solution. Donc, qu'on soit du MRC, de l'UPC, de n'importe quel parti politique, il faudrait que samedi, les gens sortent dans la rue en noir, que les gens donnent leur ras-bol au gouvernement et qu'on puisse trouver une fois pour toutes ces solutions.
Que les gens sortent.
Non, c'est pas un problème d'un parti qui appelle, ce sont les citoyens. Permettez-moi, il y a un deuil national samedi.
Oui.
Hein? Oui. Il faudrait que samedi, il y ait un shutdown qui est les villes mortes. Dès samedi. Parce que s'il n'y a pas cela, cette guerre ne va jamais être résolue. Les gens vont continuer à s'enrichir. Je peux appeler aux villes mortes. Okay. Bien sûr, en tant que citoyen camerounais.
Oui, mais vous n'allez pas utiliser nos emplois pour appeler.
Permettez-moi. Le shutdown.
Quand vous allez sortir d'ici,
le shutdown en français, c'est les villes mortes.
Oui, quand vous allez sortir,
d'accord.
Vous allez
faire être le premier à dire shutdown dans ce studio. Nous sommes pour avoir dit shutdown. Donc, il ne faudrait pas croire que ça laisse guérir pour avoir dit shutdown. Donc, le shutdown doit être effectif parce que le shutdown va permettre qu'on résolve cette crise.
Alex, quand vous allez sortir de ce studio, vous allez écrire votre shutdown, vous envoyez aux médias.
Ne vous inquiétez pas.
N'utilisez pas notre antenne. Okay, let's take a listen to the Limbe City Mayor and the Divisional Delegate for Secondary Education.
Myself, I want to once more reassure parents, teachers, students and pupils that Limbe is safe. Our schools are safe. There is more than enough security in our town to ward off any threats. Please send back your children to school as from tomorrow. Don't bow easily to these ghosts and their agents. Even in the height of this crisis, you can remember for yourself that Limbe has been one of the few places where schools have been functioning normally. We just need to be very vigilant and to report quietly any suspected cases around us. That is the biggest key of our security. I want to thank you all for your very kind attention. The very sensitive situation that Limbe went through this morning, Tuesday, 27th of October, warrants that we address you to clear the air so that normalcy can immediately return to our schools, and that parents, teachers, students and pupils are reassured that there is no cause for alarm or panic. I want to reiterate strongly that there is no security threat to our schools or our parents or our students and pupils. I repeat, there is no security threat.
Of this our legendary town for this initiative aimed at clarifying the public on the recent alleged attacks on schools within the municipality of Limbe and beyond. To put it clean and clear, very clear, that no school in Fako division witnessed any physical attack. I repeat, no school in Fako division witnessed any physical attack. With this statement, it rendered barren certain questions that were asked by the men of the first estate. Because there was no security attack, you did not expect the military to display their know-how. Some ill-intentioned communication led to the entropy that we realized in some schools today. No child was injured. I remember my student was worried on statistics. And this applies mutatis to the teaching and academic staff of the division. We have had some calming meetings with the administrative and teaching staff of some schools in Limbe, notably Government High School Limbe and Government Bilingual High School Limbe. In that meeting, the teachers were reassured, and I would like to state here that the second shift for this afternoon of today started because we kind of boosted the morale of the teachers in place. So after the alleged attack, I would like to tell you that classes continued in Government High School Limbe and Government Bilingual High School Limbe. The schools in Fako division that had or faced the negative repercussions of the alleged attack were GHS Limbe, Government Bilingual Technical High School Limbe, Government High School Limbe and Government High School Bojo. Like I said, thanks to the intervention of the administrative and teaching staff, calm was regained. I also want to say that the massive influx of parents and guardians in schools instead caused the commotion, not even the fake news. It is because parents came, and because they could not conduct themselves with civility, they had to lavish invectives, insults on both the teaching and administrative staff who were trying to call on them. It is very sad that the same core, the same personalities that you send your students for training, when you come there, you insult them in front of the students. It's very pathetic. I want to use this opportunity to call on our parents to be more civil at times. These teachers, these administrators love these children like we love them. One of us raised the issue of clandestine schools operating in the division. We cannot accept and we cannot refuse such an allegation. But I want to say that
we are going to move on to our last topic for tonight, which has to do with the visit to Kumba of three government ministers: the Minister of Territorial Administration, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Naloa-Lyunga, and the Minister of Basic Education. Apostle Ambe, their visit, your take on their visit to Kumba.
Really love. Yes, it was an interministerial visit to go and first of all condole with the parties involved with the gruesome massacre of the children who died at Mother Francisca College or school, and then equally also to ascertain the security situation there in Kumba. It was a very good idea, a good initiative. At least the government has shown some certain level of good faith by sending ministers to go and condole with the family, and then secondly also to ascertain the security state. My problem is, after the visitation, what is the aftermath? What will be the security situation in Kumba? Because when the Minister of Territorial Administration, the rest of the other ministers were going to Kumba, we had series of armored cars. I was asking if those few ministers are more important than all the population of Kumba, because the amount of armored cars they used to protect those three persons, they did not use those armored cars to protect those 100 and something children in schools. And I begin to wonder what demand, if at all, some lives are more valuable in the nation than others, because the heavy security presence that was in Kumba yesterday, when I called to find out, they told me that it was like, the gods have come down in the likeness of men. The level of security that was in Kumba yesterday, I was wondering if this nation has that kind of security before they came to kill children in the school campus in broad daylight. That means after the ministers will depart from Kumba, that security presence will dwindle. It's obvious that people are paying taxes for military to be paid, for a few persons to be protected. And the military people are collecting their salary from the tax of every Cameroonian. Why should that money given by all Cameroonians pay military be used to protect just a few persons? I'm sure if at all they mounted the level of security that they took to Kumba yesterday, before this incident, we will not face this kind of casualty in the campus of the children. Besides, before schools resumed, the government gave us assurance that we were supposed to protect every school campus and give military presence there. If 3 ministers are going to Kumba, they are taking about 60 armored cars and 100 and something children in a school. They don't even take one armored car there. Is one minister equivalent to 200 children? Because those ministers were children yesterday, and all those children are ministers tomorrow. So I don't see the interchange of their life. Besides, the ministers are rounding up, and the children are still coming up in life. So I think they should make sure that every life is given equal protection as far as the country is concerned. Nevertheless, we appreciate the gesture they demonstrated. Me, I'm tired of saying that we come to condole. It's time to celebrate. We should stop condoling, because I've been condoling from the time past till date. They should do something to stop all this consolation and condole whatsoever. They should get to work and make sure the crisis comes to an end. And after that, since they could protect themselves to go to Kumba in that manner, I think they should put that kind of security in Kumba right now, knowing that children have just died. We don't want to sit and hear again that another I don't talk my own.
Okay, let's get a briefing from Tamfu Sidwan on what actually took place in Kumba yesterday.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to panelists. Good evening to all the viewers of my Media Prime Television. Yesterday was actually a remarkable day in the city of Kumba, as there was an inter-ministerial delegation that was led by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Mr. Paul Atanganji. And the reason was to evaluate the security situation in Meme Division following the gruesome killing of students at Mother Francisca International Institution here in the city of Kumba. And when the minister arrived Kumba, the first stop was at Barombi, where he was actually received. Then he moved to the divisional office where there was a security meeting at the divisional office. Then after that, the ministers addressed the population of Kumba, and particularly parents of victims of the Saturday's attack at Mother Francisca. So what actually transpired is that the ministers told the population that those who were responsible for the killing in Mother Francisca are actually going to bear the consequences. That is what the minister stated in the city of Kumba. So the minister became a pastor at the Kumba City Council Hall, where he stated and quoted chapters of the Bible stating that those people who committed the act will never go free. But I want to let you know that Mr. Atangaji stated that the killing was done by separatist fighters, and that is what he stated to the population, and that they are going to fight terrorism in Meme Division as well as the northwest and southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. So that is what transpired. Now, the people who lost their loved ones waited yesterday from 9 a.m. till when the minister arrived at the city hall. I want to let you know here categorically clear that these people got somehow disappointed or angry, and they wanted to move out of the EXO's office because during the security meeting they sidelined them, and they stayed there for hours without water, without food. And about 3 p.m. They actually moved to the city hall where the minister addressed them. Now the minister told them that they should not lose all hopes, that they should continue to send their children to school because education is paramount. That is exactly what they stated, although those people maintain that they are not going to send their children to school because it is better they keep their children to be illiterate and alive than to send their children to school to go and die. That is exactly what these people stated. Now, there is one woman who challenged the Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister Atanganji Paul, stating that the minister is pretending and the government is shedding crocodile tears. And according to this woman, she stated that the government should be held responsible for all the calamities happening in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, and that the blood of the innocent children who were actually slain in that institution will never forgive these or the perpetrators of that gruesome act. That is exactly what they stated to the government officials. Now, while the ministers were addressing the population of Kumba during that event, the population discovered women who marched to the premises of the Kumba City Council demanding justice for the children who were killed in from one of Mother Francisca International Institution in Fiango, Kumba. Mr. Leo, I want to let you know that the minister did not pass to the various hospitals where the victims of that attack were. You know very well that some of them who are still alive are receiving treatment in the various hospitals in Kumba, particularly the Kumba District Hospital and the Presbyterian General Hospital here in the city of Kumba. So the minister did not pass there. The minister did not even pay a visit to that institution, or what you may call the crime scene. Although people were waiting, people in that quarter, parents and the general population were waiting for the minister in that quarter, but the minister left the city council and went back to Yaounde without visiting that area, despite the previous announcement that he was going to visit the school and equally the hospitals to actually encourage those who are still sick after that gruesome killing in Kumba Meme division. So
okay, thank you, Tamfu Sidwan, for painting the picture of what transpired in Kumba yesterday when the minister came visiting three government ministers, secondary, basic education and territorial administration. Professor Mark Anthony, many persons are asking, because when the Prime Minister actually issued the decision for dispatched this interministerial delegation, he stated very clearly that he was acting on the instructions, very high instructions of the head of state. The ministers supposed to be told by the President of the Republic to do what normally they're supposed to do?
Mr. Leo, that question actually brings us back to a situation where we want to interpret the state of Cameroon as, should I use the word, a cacophony, because it is funny how ministers, especially the Minister of Secondary Education, who is directly connected to such an act, because it was under his ministry that this attack took place. She was supposed to be the very first person to have reacted before even the president coming up. But waiting that the Prime Minister should come through the instructions of, in fact, not only instructions, high instructions of the president, shows us how irresponsible the government is. If it is only the president who needs to give instructions for people to function, then it means that it is a useless group of persons who are actually being brought together. Because I would not want to believe that these persons do not have brains of their own, that they can take decisions for themselves and be able to manage the affairs of the nation. And if they are unable to manage the affairs of the nation, why should they be appointed as ministers? I think that the president, in one way or the other, should dismiss those guys from leadership and appoint people who are able to use their brains. Because you come every moment and say, from high instructions from the president, high instructions from the president. That is becoming a personality cult. It is no more leadership. I think administration, the reason why they were appointed was so that they could bring in their token in order to make sure that the nation moves ahead. But if these guys come and always tell us that it's the president who's giving them high instructions, then there is a problem somewhere. So, Mr. Leo, that particular instruction from the president through the prime minister to the ministers is what is holding this country down to this very moment. That is why we are not having progress, because every error that is made will be traced back to the president. And when there's no activity, it is because they are waiting for the president to give instructions. And if the president does not give instructions, no movement. And look at it. Children died on Saturday last week. The ministers came yesterday, which to me, it was something that was supposed to be rapid. The same Saturday it happened, the Minister of Secondary Education was supposed to be in Kumba. And being in Kumba,
and not the Minister of Social Affairs?
You see, that's the issue. The Minister of Social Affairs also, nobody even knows that there's a Minister of Social Affairs in Cameroon. That's where we have a problem.
You don't know, I know.
I don't even know that she's existing. Because their function has just been to do parties. not to actually take care of the citizens of Cameroon.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Leo, I don't think that we should always keep depending on these persons in question. We should be able to start managing our affairs.
Okay, start managing our affairs. I don't know whether you buy what he is saying, where the minister is supposed to wait for the president to direct them on what is happening and how timely is their move to Kumba. This is an incident that took place on Saturday. They got to Kumba on Tuesday. Was it to investigate something? Was it to put everything in place? Maybe taking security dispositions? How do we
start one and go to the other? Firstly, we should not mix up a minister going to look at the situation and from interministerial mission. When such a thing happens like that, a minister can decide to go there the next day and see what is happening. When such a thing, when it happened in Lycée de Dido, Nalova Lyonga was there. It's different from an interministerial mission. That is why you need to know which one can come from the head of state or the head of government and which one can be decided by a minister. This situation that happened concerns security, which we have the minister Paul Atanganji. It also concerns education, which we have the various ministers in charge of education. So it was an interministerial mission to go and look what is happening there. That's why he had to come from the Prime Minister himself. So we should have these clear demarcations. Secondly, to talk about the fact that it happened on Saturday and the minister had to go there maybe 2 days after. We should also be aware that there in Kumba, we also have a representative of the same Minister of Territorial Administration that was there, the DO and the SDO, and all these delegations are there and they were in the scene to ensure that these children in the hospital are well taken care of and they are in the hospital. That is what is important, to ensure that those that were wounded are safe and alive. And that is what has been done, which we should appreciate. And these are the type of things we should be open to tell Cameroonians that this is what the government has done and this is what the government will keep on doing. So if the ministers are there to go and express the condolences of the head of state, and which the head of state, the president of the republic, have decided that on Saturday is the day of mourning for these children, we should not just criticize, because I've realized that Cameroonians have become much more of critics than nation builders. We should appreciate what has been done, and we should participate on Saturday to mourn with this family that is in pain. So on Saturday, as a National Day of Mourning, all Cameroonians are called upon to mourn with this family, to mourn with these young Cameroonians with the Cameroonian blood flowing in their vein that we've lost, to mourn with them and wish them farewell to the land of the dead. And we ensure that the security members of the security force should tighten this security and ensure that such a thing never happen. Okay. And secondly, we got what the minister said: any school that is functioning, please give this information to those in charge of security, so that you have your security. This goes especially to these people that open schools behind their houses or in their kitchen. Please, we should be able to follow the law, especially in the northwest and the southwest region, to inform forces of law and order. Tell them the number of children you have in your schools, and securities will be given to protect them.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please help me. Okay, we voted for those government officials, but we did not hand any responsibilities to the Amber boys. So why is he comparing the Ambers with the government? Karina is writing from Buea. She says, okay, tell Mr. Kedia we voted for the government. Good evening to you, Karina, writing from Buea. One of your panelists said the government has shown good faith by giving Anglophone special status. I just want him to know that nowhere in the world has non-state armed groups has ever called for an end to a conflict. Let the president call off the war. G. Lucas is writing from mile 16 in Buea. Mr. Leo, greetings to you and the panelists. My worry is that why are the teachers and proprietors staying mute? Tina is writing from Tico. Good evening to you, Tina. Mr. Leo, good evening. This is Nevada writing from Bamenda. I should think that came to the studio to educate, not tell Cameroonians what they can't understand. I appreciate Apostle Ambi. The young man at your side is talking what we don't understand, and I have noticed because sardine and bread, they okay, let's listen to Atiku Felix filing contribute from Buea.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and good evening to the entire panel. Mr. Leo, the truth is we are so tired with this scheme from the government, because I don't understand why the government always come out only when there is a situation like this. Must these visits always be planned after a killing? Mr. Leo, it's just so funny. We are tired, and it's no longer news because we know it's not going to yield any fruit. The minister and his entourage are on a normal money-making mission. This we know. What is the essence of such a visit when the actual site where the incident took place was not visited? What's the essence of this visit when all proposals for a peaceful solution has always been rejected? Must people die before a visit is planned? Mr. Leo, we are tired of this scheme. We are really tired. What is the difficulty of granting clemency to those leaders who have been jailed just because they said the truth? These people should be hailed instead because they made the government to understand that there is a problem that was coming up from the Anglophones who are grieved because of the marginalization that they faced. But what did they gain? They were jailed, and finally it turned out to be true that there was actually a problem, and they are still jailed. While those who refused that there was actually an Anglophone problem, who lied to the government, were instead given ministerial positions. Where actually, Mr. Leo, are we heading to? You speak the truth, you are jailed. You speak the truth, you are persecuted. But when you lie, so long as it's in the favor of the government, you are being hailed and being compensated with a good position in government. Mr. Leo, what has the past visits from the ministers to all the areas that such an incident took place, what has the past yielded? Let's look at the situation in Gabu. Look at the situation in Moyoka. Look at the situation in Mankong, in Bali, Mutengene. What did it actually, what has it yielded, Mr. Leo? We are tired. The Anglophones can no longer be fooled. They can no longer be deceived, Mr. Leo. Every time we talk of a commission of inquiry, what is the result?
Okay, Tiku Felix coming in there from Buea. Thank you for participating. Good evening, Mr. Liu and Prime. The National Day of Mourning declared by Mr. Bia should be used to decry the failure of a hyper-centralized Jacobinist system of government and also Ambazonia terrorist monotheistic culture. Cameroonians of the Anglophone extraction have the right to different options. What Ambazonians are doing is going back to one-party barbaric Jacobinist system with a mandate from all Anglophones. Okay, Paddy Asanga is contributing there from Hamburg in Germany. We stay with Kumba before I come to you with a reaction from one of the participants of that confab that brought together the population of Kumba in the presence of the three ministers who went visiting. Can we have the reaction of the lady who interrupted the delivery by the minister?
And the Bible said that No woman can fight war. You can stand in the midst of fight war. You can stand before the court and speak everything. But I want to make you to understand.
Okay, that was an interruption to the Minister of Territorial Administration in Kumba yesterday while he was addressing the population that came to listen to the message he brought from Yaounde as heading an interministerial delegation to Kumba at the instructions of the Prime Minister, also instructed by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya. Now, your reaction to the lady's interruption of the ministry's delivery?
The Egyptians you see today, you will see them no more. Objection for her.
Okay.
And I thank God and I thank Mr. Paul Atanganji, Minister of Territorial Administration, for granting her objection. He did not overrule the objection. He permitted that the woman should speak out her mind. And that's what we call freedom of speech in a Republican nation with a high level of democracy. And we'll be begging also that her freedom after the speech should be looked into. So what she did today is just going a long way to show that women have a say in our society and that what women feel and think can be heard and respected. I believe if he were a man that came out to say objection, my brother, you will be kicked out by the boot. But since it was a woman, they could not manhandle her. They had to listen to the cry of our mothers. Reasons why I am still calling upon all the women, because I saw Madame Nalova Lyonga was there, Dr. Nalova Lyonga was there. I think she will feel the pain of that woman and the pain of other women in the nation, and also join in the protest that the women are supposed to carry out so that they can save this Cameroon of what we are going through. It's been 4 years. 4 years, not 4 days. The suffering is too much, Mr. Liu. I think that the women are our hope as for now, given that the men have tried. The men have been taken to the street, and what was given to them were put to the ass. So I think time has come for the women to show us that women exist. They should not only wait for 8 March to go and raise a Kaba. Time to raise Kaba has come. You people should also stand up for this nation, because they have been talking about women empowerment, women in politics. Time has come for your voices also to be heard. The men in the Norway, because we look, the majority of those who have died in the North and South are men. So time has come. If not, people will end up not having husbands.
Okay.
So refuse them sex now. Let's be reasonable so that they can also take decisions that will make this nation to go forward.
Alex Ngepi, we saw 3 ministers move to Kumba. Is this, irrespective of what has been said, is this also a sign to tell the people that the government is always with the people? Ministers leaving Yaounde to Kumba to also feel what Kumba is going through, and to also pass on that message of compassion and assurance to the people that irrespective of the challenges, the difficulties, we are there to see into it that we guarantee your security and survival.
Ils ne garantissent aucune sécurité parce que ils sont allés passer le message du chef de l'État en principe aux populations locales. C'est bien beau, la compassion que ces 3 ministres-là ont voulu éprouver face à ce peuple-là. Mais pourquoi ils ne sont pas allés lundi? Parce qu'il y avait shutdown. Ils ont respecté le shutdown des ambazoniens. Ils ne sont pas allés lundi. Pourquoi n'ont-ils pas osé aller le lundi à Kumba? Pourquoi ils sont restés là, attendre pour les mardis? Et ils demandent à nos enfants à l'école lundi là-bas, quand eux-mêmes sont incapables. Regardez-les, ils sont comme des robots. Ils ont mis les gilets 4 balles. Mais les gilets 4 balles sont partout. Regardez bien le corps. Regardez la vidéo. On dirait le Robocop.
Non.
Maintenant, vous voyez maintenant, mais c'est la vérité. Ils sont protégés, ils ont les gilets par balles, ils ont les véhicules blindés. Mais regardez les populations qui sont là. Ils n'ont aucun gilet par balles. C'est ça? C'est ça, tu te compares? Ils disent que le sud-ouest, il y a la sécurité, qu'à Kumba, il y a la sécurité, lorsqu'ils viennent à Robocop et qu'ils ont les véhicules blindés, parce que leur vie les importe, et on n'arrive pas à envoyer les gens défendre un étabbissement.
But what are you telling me that the life of the life that Professor Maurice Kamto is living is the life you are living?
La question n'est pas là. La question est sur les quartiers des citoyens. Parce que ils sont partis, ils ont préféré aller envoyer 500 policiers chez Kamto, alors que les 500 policiers auraient pu déployer à Kumba pour la sécurité. Voilà le problème. Pourquoi est-ce qu'on passe autant à déployer les forces de sécurité là où il ne faut pas, là d'être hors sujet? C'est-à-dire, si Alex Guépé sort de ce studio pour rentrer chez lui, il y a un gardien qui est là, qui le suit, quand il dort quelque part, il y a quelqu'un d'autre qui le guette. C'est un policier. Pourquoi on peut l'envoyer à Kumba? Pourquoi? Quand ce crime a eu lieu, ce sont les Camerounais qui ont commis ce crime. Pourquoi est-ce qu'ils sont entrés avec les armes lourdes, ils sont sortis avec les armes lourdes? Pourquoi est-ce que l'armée n'a pas intervenu? C'est ça qu'on déplore. C'est bien beau ce qu'ils sont en train de faire. Mais si on parle de sécurité des Camerounais qui ont perdu les enfants, l'école là, les enfants qui ont les camarades qui les ont perdus, qu'est-ce que le gouvernement a prévu pour eux? Est-ce qu'on a pensé que ces papas, ces mamans, et même la population de Kumba devraient avoir un suivi psychologique? Non, on s'en va à Kumba, on s'exile et on prend avec les gros véhicules blindés, et quand on s'en va, les mêmes choses pour ça même
I'm sure Alex Ngepi, the Senior Divisional Officer for Kmer, announced that what you are saying, those dispositions were taken into consideration for a psychological accompaniment to be given to those who are affected by what is happening. We cannot be too sure of what has been done so far, but I am sure I got something in that light. But we are out of time. We just want you to say what now. How do we build trust between the population and the administration, because life has to continue?
Yeah, because of the unfortunate incident that occurred in Kumba, I don't think most parents are willing to actually send their children back to school, considering also the uproar that occurred yesterday in Limbe. I think the government has to give a certain measure of security to convince the parents that their children are in safe hands, because the promises they made before schools resumed, they have not kept to the promises, and that's led to the carnage we saw there in Kumba. So I think they have to build confidence back in the hearts of the parents by stationing proper security and giving parents the assurance that their children going back to school, they will not be slaughtered like pieces of chicken.
Okay, how do we build trust?
Looking at the situation on ground at present moment, I have some doubts whether on actual basis those parents are going to actually trust the government, because they trusted and they've suffered.
Do they have a choice? Who should they trust? Themselves?
So at the moment, I think if the government needs to do something, this problem should be solved. That's the only thing I can say concerning that.
Okay. Before the problem is solved, because what if the government wants to solve the problem and the other side is not also willing? Will you force the problem to be solved?
That is the reason why we have been advocating that it is time for the citizens themselves to
impose on them to solve it. Yes. How do we build this trust?
The people has always have trust for the government. The main problem is that this amber guy that smoke their weed and threaten the people, because we should be clear, we should have clear demarcation. The people don't have trust, but for the amber boys that threaten them. That's if you go out on Monday, I'll cut off your head. If you go to school, I'll slice your head. The military does not slice head for people that go to school. So the people have trust with the government and the military. The problem now is the amber doing the atrocity. That's why we are saying that the people should collaborate with the military so that they can have these hoodlums arrested.
Okay, very briefly, how do we build the trust?
Building trust is not the matter here. The matter here is that for the past 4 years, all the effort put in place by the government to solve the problem has failed. And only a fool will continue doing the same thing and expect different results. I think that at this point in time, the government needs to change strategy. It's not all problems that are solved with violence. I once said, it is until a mosquito lands on your testicles. Sorry about that. Now you understand that. You must forgive me. Now you understand that it's not only violence. That can solve problems. So the government should forget about the option of violence and then look for another way to solve this problem, because so many people have died so far, and because no matter what,
if you continue using cosmetic solutions to the problem, after some years, again, after some few years, it will still come out.
Yeah.
So I think they should give a permanent solution to that.
Okay, yes. How do we build trust between the people and the government?
Bon, écoutez, que le peuple camerounais comprenne, qu'il sache que ce gouvernement, les ambassoniens ne peuvent pas résoudre ce problème. Ils sont vétus, ils sont dépassés. Les ambassoniens et le gouvernement ont trop d'intérêts communs. Sauf le peuple peut se lever et ce problème. Et nous demandons à nos mamans, aux femmes, elles ont commencé à de l'espoir.
Merci.
Sauf elles seules peuvent résoudre ce problème. Pour que le gouvernement, M. Biapo, soit dans la poubelle de l'histoire.
Okay, we want to thank you all who came for the program. I'm immensely grateful, and also to the people of Bunganjo in the Mutengene area who came for the first part of the program. We want to thank the production team, to you, Christian and Desmond and Eli, who is producing the program. Also to you, Honoré Kuma, who acted as our line producer for today. We also want to thank those at the broadcasting, and to you, Tabi, Tambe, Bryant, and in passing, I say a special greeting to you, Didi, of Didi Banderas of Kumba. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.